The memory was a bruise that never faded, though I could not see it. I could not see anything. 20 years ago, in the sterile white of the primary assessment center, 20 children had donned the halos. The tech was revolutionary then, the Imaginarium interface. It pulled the raw creative ether from a child's mind and projected it into hard light. My classmates filled the room with dragons made of spun sugar, knights in neon armor, and forests that smelled of bubble gum. And then there was my station. The halo hummed, searching, desperate to pull a thread of visual thought from my mind, but the air above my head remained terrifyingly, stubbornly empty. The technician had tapped the glass. "Try harder, Elara, picture an apple." I knew what an apple was. I knew the crunch, the spray of tart juice, the smooth, waxy skin, but I could not conjure the ghost of it. I had aphantasia, a mind without an eye. In a world where magic was visual, where power was projection, I was worse than powerless. I was a defect. Now, at 25, I was still surrounded by the light, but only as a shadow. I gripped the handle of my mop, scrubbing the obsidian floors of the Spire's lecture hall. It was late. The students were gone, leaving behind the psychic residue of their lessons, shimmering dust that only a Null like me could sweep away. "You missed a spot, Null." The voice was deep, vibrating through the floorboards and into the soles of my cheap canvas shoes. I did not look up immediately. I knew that voice. High Magister Kaelen. "My apologies, Magister," I murmured, keeping my eyes on the black stone. Kaelen stepped into my periphery. He was a towering figure of broad shoulders and severe lines, usually draped in the crimson robes of the Pyromancer caste. Even without looking at him directly, I could feel the heat radiating from him, a dry, crackling furnace. He smelled of wood smoke and ozone. "Look at me when I address you, Elara." I lifted my chin. Kaelen's eyes were the color of molten gold, burning with a perpetual, restrained intensity. He was beautiful in the way a forest fire was beautiful, destructive, and awe-inspiring. Beside him stood the only man who dared to tease him, Magister Rise. Rise was the antithesis of Kaelen. Where Kaelen was heat and stone, Rise was wind and water. He leaned against a desk, his silver hair falling over eyes that shifted color like a kaleidoscope. He offered me a lazy, dangerous grin. "Easy, Kaelen," Rise drawled, his voice like silk over gravel. "She's the best cleaner we have. The others leave psychic static everywhere. Elara leaves silence." "She leaves emptiness," Kaelen corrected harshly, though his gaze lingered on my throat. "The lecture hall feels dead." "It feels peaceful," I whispered, the defiance slipping out before I could check it. Kaelen's eyes narrowed. He took a step toward me, the heat spiking. "Peaceful, it is a void, just like you." He raised a hand. He was not going to strike me. Magisters did not touch the help, but he was summoning a lesson. A ball of fire bloomed in his palm, swirling with intricate visual patterns. To anyone else, it was a masterpiece of imagination. To me, it was just heat and the sound of roaring air. "Tell me what you see, Elara," he commanded. "I see fire, Magister." "Describe it." "It is bright hot." He scoffed, the flame flaring aggressively. "Pedestrian, you lack the soul to appreciate the weave." Suddenly, the ambient mana in the room shifted. The lingering projection equipment, left active by a careless student, groaned. The heavy accumulation of Kaelen's magic, combined with the unstable residue in the air, arced toward the nearest conductor. It was not a visual hallucination, it was a physical impact. The stray magic slammed into my chest, but instead of burning me, it vanished. My defect did not just fail to project, it acted as a sinkhole. The fire in Kaelen's hand flickered and died. The lights in the hall surged and blew out. "What did you do?" Kaelen growled, stepping into my personal space, his large hand grabbing my upper arm. His grip was searing, searingly hot. I did not." "She did not cast," Kaelen, Rise said, his voice suddenly stripped of humor. He pushed off the desk, moving with supernatural speed to grab my other shoulder. His touch was cool, electric. "She did not cast, she ate it." The air between the three of us grew heavy, charged with a sudden, suffocating pressure. I felt a strange hunger wake up in my belly, a starving beast that had tasted its first meal. "Let me go," I gasped, the sensation overwhelming. "Not a chance," Kaelen whispered, staring down at me with a look of dawning horror and ravenous curiosity. "The containment seals on the Spire just shattered. You did not just eat a fireball, Elara. You just swallowed the Academy's wards." A siren began to wail in the distance, low and mournful. "We have to go," Rise hissed, looking at the door. "Now, before the Inquisitors find out the Null is actually a black hole." Kaelen looked at Rise, then back to me. The heat in his eyes changed from anger to something far more possessive. "She's ours," Kaelen said, his voice dropping to a rumble that shook my bones. "Take her."
Want to keep the flame ignited without having to wait for the next part? You can find the full, tantalizing tale on our main page. See the link in the description.